What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, I'm here. Welcome to my first killer tier list. So in this video, you guys are going to be seeing all the killers, some of the gameplay. I'm going to be explaining what they do, I'm going to be saying what they do, why I put it in here. You're going to be seeing tiers S all the way down to F, F being the worst, S being the best. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. And of course, guys, in the S tier, you guys should have been able to guess this, is the Nurse. Nurse is power. Her power, the blink, can get her from one side of the map to the other side of the map in the blink of an eye. Her biggest downfall when playing is her speed being a base power of 96% or 3.85 meters per second, which is just slower than the Survivor's, which is 100% or 4 meters per second. Now, the reason why Nurse is an extremely strong killer is because of her ability to pressure the map as well as she wants, especially small maps like the game Larry's. The reason why she is so good at that is because of how fast she can go from one side of the map to the other side of the map, as I was talking about before, and her ability to pressure gens and people's health states. Whether she wants them to be injured or in the dying state, it's up to her. Especially as a Nurse player who's extremely good. I can give props to any Nurse player because I can't play Nurse to save my life. Now, I know I've been stuttering a lot, but it's because I'm tired as hell. But let's move on to the next person, and you guys will see me there. Next up in the S tier is the Spirit. You guessed it. Guess what? Her power, the Phantom Phasing, allows her to go invisible and, well, go one side of the map to the other side of the map, exactly like Nurse. Except the only difference they have is when Nurse goes to use her power, she goes in a straight line and can go up or down. Spirit can go left, right, wherever the hell she wants in her phasing, but only for a limited amount of time, and it does take a lot longer for it to come back, unlike Nurse's power. Her big weakness is people can either easily manipulate her if they don't know what they're doing, like me. People can, whenever she's facing, she can see scratch marks. And, unlucky for this, Dwight, I'm not an idiot, Spirit. Moving on, she can see scratch marks, so survivors can take this information that they have and try to use it to their best potential. Some would run forward, stop, walk another direction. Some would run, keep walking, and then walk in the other direction, etc., etc. You guys know what I'm doing here. But some spirits who don't know what they're doing, they're gonna get fooled by that, especially if on maps that have big grasses. The best way is to look at the grass. If it's moving, there's a survivor right there. If it's not, but you don't see the scratch marks anymore, they're probably long gone. Let's face the facts. But there's a lot of people who don't know exactly what they're doing when they're Spirit. But the people who do know exactly what they're doing when they're playing Spirit, those people you better watch out for, because Spirits don't play around. I can tell you that from what I've seen. But this is who I think should be next in the S tier. Let's move on to the next one. And first up in the A tier is my favorite killer, personally my favorite killer, the Huntress. Huntress is in the A tier because even though she has that slight little speed reduction like Nurse does, her being a base speed of 110%, which is 5% lower than the base killer speed, she has the power of hatchets, which you're about to see thrown right here. And she can hit survivors from afar up to a maximum of 8 times, depending if you have add-ons. Without add-ons, it's just a maximum of 5 times. But she can hit you as far from the map as you want. The only difference is if you go right behind a wall when she's throwing up a hatchet, she can't hit you at all. Until she either brings that down or you somehow make yourself an open target, I can't see how she's going to be able to hit you from behind a wall. Now, a Huntress who knows exactly what they're doing is extremely dangerous. If they know exactly how to hit their shots, what you're doing, when you're gonna backtrack, it's freaking game over. And I'm telling you from my perspective of being destroyed by Huntresses, destroying survivors as Huntress, and destroying Huntresses as well. But, oh Jesus, if a Huntress doesn't know what she's doing, she's probably gonna get just as bullied as if she was a Nurse who didn't know what they were doing. Now, if you're gonna be like this Meg here and try to run out of my basement, just kidding, you're gonna see yourselves have a lot harder of a gameplay if you don't know what to do against the Huntress. Huntresses can be extremely deadly, and I know I'm a Huntress main, as you guys have probably been able to tell from my videos. Again, Huntress is my main. I love her with all of my little heart. But this is a tier list. I think she's this strong, A tier. She's definitely not the strongest because she does have weaknesses. Like she can be looped a lot more longer than most killers can be. Like Trapper and Wraith, they can take loops a lot easier. than Huntress can because they have a base power of 150%. Or 115, not 50, sorry, that sounded like that. Continuing on, Huntress, yeah, as you guys are seeing right here, she can hit you as far away in the map as possible. And no matter where you are, as long as you're in an open spot, she throws the hatchet and it hits you, you're an open target, no matter what you do. But killers who are able to catch up to survivors, like, as I said, Trapper and Wraith with their base power, or base speed, sorry, she's a lot more easier to loop around. It's only more deadlier when she gets Bloodlust Tier 2. Bloodlust Tier 1, it's like the same as being chased by a regular killer. But with a ranged killer like Huntress, you'd best either Gen Rush to get the hell out or give up. It's your guys' choice. Moving on. The next killer in the A tier list, which is the 4th strongest if I count correctly, is the Oni. As you guys can see from this gameplay, Oni's ability, the Wrath of whatever, the Blood Wrath, Blood Oath, whatever you want to call it, it's the same thing. Every time he collects a certain amount of blood, or he gets up to his Rage, or Wrath, whatever you like to call it, he's able to go Super Saiyan mode, like Goku and Vegeta, and go from one side of the map to the other side of the map just as fast as Billy can. He can one-shot with 2 different ways, either from standing or from Blood Wrath. And he basically requires you to stay injured. That's basically how you're able to counter him. If you don't stay injured, it's a lot more easier. The only thing is, if he smacks a healthy survivor, not an injured one, if you're healthy and he smacks you, you give him at least half of his power right there. So it's a win-lose, win-win situation. It's a kind of a win-win if you're on the Oni side, or lose-lose if you're on the Oni side, or on the survivor side, because if you stay healthy and he smacks you, you give him half of his power. If you stay injured, you give him pretty much all of his power. But Onis can be looped just as easily as a regular killer can, Oni's base speed being 115%. Now, his biggest weakness is, well, gen pressure. If Oni is focusing too much on one person and they are looping him like crazy, you guys are guaranteed to get out. There's a lot this killer can focus on, and he's a lot like the Billy without, it's a lot like Billy without turning add-ons. The reason why I say that is because if you try to go around the corner, you have to be extremely sharp. Extremely sharp. If you're not, well, you're going to be chasing that person more. It's not fun. Trust me, it is not nowhere near fun. Next up in the A tier list is, you guys guessed it, Freddy Krueger. Now, ever since he had his rework, he was a horrible person. Horrible killer, horrible player. No matter what you did as Freddy, it was hard to 4K before his rework. Now that he's got his rework, he is amazing. Strong, very strong. And you guys are going to be told what, unless you already know. And in case, I'm going to tell you anyways. He has pretty much 3 different abilities: Dream Snares, Dream Pallets, and Dream Projection. Dream Snares and Dream Pallets can be chosen through add-ons if you want to use them throughout the game, but only one power is allowed to be used between those 2 every game you play. Dream Snares, if a survivor's in the dream world, they run over it, they slow down. They slow down tremendously, and it's not really hard to have a survivor run. Now, the Dream Pallets, though, it's kind of a different story. They're not as hard to do, though. Survivors, if they're in the dream world and they see a Dream Pallet and they throw it down, now, and they throw it down on top of you, you're not going to get stunned by that, no. That's why enduring is probably not going to be too hard, or probably not going to be a good perk to run on Freddy. But that's just my opinion. Now, if you guys want to run enduring on Freddy, go ahead and do it all means. Not my choice. But he is still pretty counterable. He could be looped just as easily as any other killer. Taking it from me and a few other people who have been destroyed by Freddy's and destroyed Freddy's. Now, me and my group of friends, Mr. Misanthropy, Toxic Blade, Ted, 0178, etc., the list goes on and on. Even a few other YouTubers we played with. We've all have destroyed killers and have been destroyed by killers, so I know a thing or two about what I should be doing and what I can be providing on both sides. But moving on to Freddy. Now, he's still pretty counterable. If anything, if a Freddy doesn't know what they're doing, they're most likely going to get bullied, because if they put down a blood snare and it is not in a good place where a survivor is going to be standing or even running through at all, you're going to need some practice. Other than that, Freddy is an extremely strong killer. His other ability, called the Dream Projection, he is able to teleport from generator to generator, but the more people in the dream state, the faster it goes up. The less people in the dream state, the slower it goes by. But it recovers nonetheless. So that's my pick on Freddy. If you guys have a different choice, that's fine. And let's move on to the next one.
And the next tier is, you guys can guess it, Deathslinger. Deathslinger is a pretty cool killer. He's like the Huntress, but in my opinion, pretty worse than Huntress. I think Huntress is a lot better than Deathslinger, since Deathslinger's his power is his Gunslinger, his Deathslinger, right now, with the ADS of aiming down sights, where you can shoot up to a maximum of 18 meters and grab a survivor. Smacking a survivor who just got grappled by your gun, if they're in the healthy state, they'll be put immediately into the injured and mimic state. If they are injured and you grab them with your gun, they'll immediately go down. Now, with perks like Monitor and Abuse and Nurse's Calling, they work really well with his terror radius, since he only has a base terror radius of 28 meters. Monitor and Abuse, helping it reduce it down to 20 meters, and with Nurse's Calling, being at tier 3 with it 24 meters, with these few perks, he's pretty overpowered once you get to learn him a lot. He's not as difficult to learn as Huntress is, but he's also not as easy to learn as, like, I guess, Billy and Trapdoor. I don't know, but that's my opinion. If you guys have any other doubts or think there's something I didn't say, go ahead and comment down below, and let's move on. Now, first up in the B tier is, you guessed it, Michael Myers. Michael Myers has one of those pretty cool abilities, or his power, which is the stalking power. Once you're able, you start off the game at 4 base terror radius. Your movement speed is extremely slow, and the more you stalk survivors, and the higher tiers you get. Once you get to tier 2, everything's normal. You have base terror radius, you have base movement speed. But once you get to tier 3, you can insta-down survivors, which, on killers, when they can insta-down a survivor, that is extremely powerful. And on killers who can move extremely fast with, like, play with your food. And Myers gets, I think, a slightly buffed speed as well. He has slightly buffed, or slightly faster action speeds, like breaking, picking up survivors, etc., etc. And his terror radius becomes, I think, like 36 meters after getting to tier 3. I don't know for sure, but Myers is one of those killers who can get an easy, good stalk hit. Like, he comes out of nowhere and smacks you he gets a surprise attack, basically. So, and with perks like, the perks that are able to help him get down easily, like play with your food to make you go faster, really help to his power. So far, Myers is one of the easiest killers to loop, since while he's vaulting, you can go right through his body the easiest. Well, other killers, not so much, especially bigger killers like Clown and Trapper. But Myers, I don't know why, I think it's because of his stalking attribution, but he is a lot more easy, or at least one of the easiest killers, if not the easiest killer to loop. But he can be extremely deadly if the if the killer is a lot more aware of their surroundings, and they're always so observant, which a lot of killers who are extremely good are. But this is where I think Myers stands, and let's move on to the next one. Up next in the B tier, we have the Plague. Now, a lot of people might be confused why I put Plague here and probably either not lower or a lot higher. Well, to be honest, Plague is pretty god-awful. I mean, ever since she got her slight buff, I guess you can call, she's been a lot more stronger since then, since she does get her Corrupt Intervention after every gen that does get completed, and she starts off the game with, I think, 1 or 2 already corrupted pools. But moving on, her power, the Vomit, as everyone likes to call it, or the Vile Purge as it is actually called, where if you throw up on a survivor, it makes them sick, and after throwing up on them enough, or them being sick long enough, they eventually go into the broken state, where they are always injured, and until they cleanse themselves, they are always going to be one shot, no matter what. And it's pretty risky for a lot of survivors to do that, because if they do cleanse, they give 1 free pool of Corrupt Intervention, and with a lot of plagues, they either tend to do that the best, or don't use them at all. Sadly for me, I'm one of those who don't really pay attention to their pools of corrupts. Put it that way. Sorry, I'm really tired. But anyways, moving on. Plagues, Plague can still be easily counterable, and sometimes even using Vile Purge, it can completely miss its target. The best way, if someone's right in front of you and they're scrabbling around like trying to dodge a Huntress hatchet, it's best to just go back and forth crazily, just so you got all edges and they can't go out. But that's my thought. Every time someone stays sick, if you have specific add-ons that help her power, like the screen add-on you're seeing, where every time I go to do the Vile Purge, it's a lot more faster. I think perks like that really help her. Anything else is either decent or not. But that's what I think on the Plague. Let's move on. Up next in the B tier, we got ourselves the Demogorgon. Now, Demogorgon is a pretty cool killer. As you guys can see right here, he has his ability where he can put down portals up to a maximum of 6 times, unless you have the add-on Muse Guts, which I do have on in this video, where it gives me 7. Now, what these things do is, if you put at least 2 down and you stand on top of them, you can teleport from one side of them up to the other. The downside to this is you have to be standing on 1, and you have to have at least 2 down for it to even work. And if you go through them, survivors can see these and break them within a little bit amount of time. Now, his next ability is called Channeling Abyss, where he can open his mouth, get his claws ready, and he can, the longer you hold it, the farther he can lunge. As you can see right there, I failed. And then I get glitched for some reason. But moving on, he is not a hard killer to learn. He's really not hard to learn. He has a base speed of 115%, and it's just really not too hard. His cool feature is he can go from one side of the map to the other, but there's a huge downfall to that, you guys already know. And his shred ability is pretty decent. Not the worst, not the best. At least to me. If you're a Demogorgon main and you are getting mad at this, I apologize, but this is solely my opinion. Moving on forward, Demogorgon is really not... I don't know, it's kind of hard to talk about a killer who really doesn't have too much going for him, unless I'm just thinking out of my mind and I'm not thinking about what's important. But really, he can't do too much gen progression. He has good map progression, but he's kind of like the Trapper, where he has to put down his things first before they're even able to be used. Then again, they can be destroyed, and even though he can place them down again wherever he wants, unlike Trapper, it's still kind of a pain. But moving on forward, I think this is my thought on Demogorgon. Let's move on.